Welcome back. Today we're going to do a really quick one on the NF Audio collaboration co-branding with Assassin's Creed Mirage. This is, I think, maybe their only gaming series set, or this is the first one. Either way, it is part of their gaming series as opposed to their music series or their professional series. So this is what it looks like, and you can kind of see a little branding there. But I think most people are going to be attracted to the look of this one and the branding and all that. As far as a pure gaming set, it's a little bit. Says RG15 right there, game series, but metal shells. I think these are a little bit heavy for long session gaming. They're kind of interesting. They look really nice, and you get the nice tie-in with the cable on the colors, the black and gold, and I think this is all. It all looks very nice, but as far as usability, I think these are a little bit heavy for gaming or long-term wearing. I thought it was kind of an interesting decision to do that. I don't know. Perhaps it's more of a branding thing as opposed to a functional gaming thing. But either way, what is it? So as I said, it's an Assassin's Creed themed one dynamic driver for gaming. So sound, it looks like this on the graph, and that looks pretty much like a big V shape. And I will say not quite as V-shaped as it is, and I don't think the dynamic driver is a 10 millimeter. I think it's actually something smaller. So the bass shelf definitely doesn't sound like that. It doesn't have that much bass impact. The treble is definitely on the brighter side because of all the peak and the actual level they used. But yeah, I think it's actually a smaller dynamic driver. I don't really know. That the back of the box basically says dual cavity driver. It doesn't actually put a size on it. So unlike their professional series, I think they moved the emphasis later in the treble to about 5K. The trade-off between a vocal focus and detail focus, which is typically the reason to bump 5K. So I'm really talking about this area here. So when you look at their professional series, they tend to bump 2 to 3K, kind of way up there, and that gives you very much a vocal focus. In here, they really bumped up this whole area right here. So 5K is the major bump there, and that is what I would call a major shot of detail or apparent detail. Brands tend to do that. You can do a lower 2 to 3K. So as you rise into the upper mids, you can do this a little bit lower and then try to poke in some later energy, some latent energy on the 5K, and that's sort of exactly what that move is. For gaming, I think they're really targeting certain sound effects, some of the higher frequency, as opposed to focusing on the vocals and giving you a little bit of footstep capabilities there in the bass. But I think these are kind of their gaming style signature, I guess, is what they're really trying to pull off there. So bass, I guess for such a large shelf, it doesn't really hit like it does. I don't know. There's really a good chance that's not a 10 millimeter. I think it actually graphs like a 6 millimeter, sounds like a 6 millimeter. I think for gaming and music, it tends to hit the balance of having some presence, but not muddying the sound or with too much bass. So, yeah, I think they actually chose right with the 6 millimeter, and they sort of, and on the graph, it looks a little bit heavy for gaming. And I would agree, if that was a 10 millimeter dynamic driver, I think that would be a little bit too heavy for gaming. 6 millimeter, it's definitely closer towards where the Harman target is. It's got that level of presence as opposed to what it looks like on the graph. The mids, again, this lower bass presence, boosted treble, that tends to give you a clear, clean, detailed mid sound. Not a really bad choice for gaming. I think they actually did that kind of well. And then on the treble, the 5K is that shot of apparent detail, adds a bright, thinner sound to it. Again, not a bad idea for gaming. It's boosted a bit too much for music, but for sound effects, it's kind of okay. It's just, again, it's sort of like the choice of a metal shell for a longer term or a long session gaming or even music. I think the heavier shells, I think doing a 5K that's boosted that much tends to be a little bit fatiguing over the long term. And I think these two together, again, more of a gaming look than a functionality statement there, but that would be my opinion on it anyway. So imaging, I think it's okay for people. It's okay, but for people with a 5K sensitivity, for me, it's a bit too much. It doesn't really image as well as it can because of that 5K. That 5K is a really brutal one to deal with if you're sensitive to it. It tends to hold a whole lot of focus, and it makes it really harder to see around that 5K. It takes all the attention away from everything else. But yeah, I don't really think that it's a gaming staging kind of style either. But it has a really tight central image if that's what you're into. But for me, it didn't really have a huge stage, mainly because of the 5K. So that was a quick one on the RG15. So thank you guys again for tuning in, and I will see you next time.